Well, hey everybody. Here I am with my good friend Mateo. This is the Coltist season 2, episode 10, the Garner Minshew episode. Hey man, the Indianapolis Colts won 4 games in a row here and are now 7-5 and
And
looking
yeah,
very much
looking
like a
good.
playoff
Yeah.
team.
I mean, we ran through the scenarios, in the Discord channel. We said, hey, Colts might very easily win 3 of their last 5 games. I believe that's, a reasonable assumption to make. I think,
Yeah,
against Bengals, Steelers, probably without Kenny Pickett. I mean, Texans at home, that's a tough one. That's kind of hard. CJ Stroud, as we all know, is
hmm
playing really well. But then, you have what is it, like Texans, Steelers, you have the Bengals without Joe Burrow, of course. You have the Falcons and the Raiders. You should win both of them, honestly.
yeah. And I mean, obviously, parity is going to kick in at some point. So there's some breath here. It's like, hey, the Colts drop a couple of those games, closing the season with the current league passing leader, by the way, rookie CJ Stroud. Um, Definitely going to be a great game to watch. But obviously, when you name your podcast episode after Garner Minshew, you almost have to talk about the Colts winning despite
Yeah.
Garner
Yeah, I
Minshew.
don't think even Gardner Minshew, biggest fan, is gonna say like he had a good what. I don't think. I mean, I think overtime is the only time I was like, hey, he's playing well in the past 4 games, and during the entire game, I was really mad at how bad he was playing. He
Yeah,
was. I mean, I said like I was livid. I did not like how he was playing. I think he's playing scared. He's missing, some easy throws.
hmm
Like he missed a wide open out Pierce on a go route. I think it was in the third quarter. He missed, on that 3rd and 1 short pass to Josh Downs where he put the ball like way up there. And it's
yeah,
like, that's the easiest pass a quarterback's going to have. And you had no pressure. You just had to, get the snap and throw the ball. I mean, that's
yeah.
the easiest thing you have to do.
Mhm.
And he threw it high, he botched that. And of course, a 2-point conversion where it's not entirely his fault, but the 2-point conversion where it was returned for an interception returned all the way to the house. And he put the ball, Zach Moss, you have to put the ball in the chest. Those are short throws. You have to be able to make those. And he
Yeah,
high pointed both of them. And you're just like, hey, this guy is seriously costing you right now. I mean, I was at one point, in all honesty, at one point I was this close to asking for, hey, fuck it, put Sam Ellinger in there. And I mean, at least he can run.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's what we were kind of saying. Like we're naming the podcast episode after a dude who we're kind of winning despite, right? Hasn't shown you starter level quality play. He's had moments. It looks
Yeah.
like he and Alec Pierce have found a little bit of a rhythm. Um, but I think he leans on Michael Pittman a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a telltale sign of an average quarterback when there's disparity, right? When you're not spreading the ball around, when you are kind of really leaning on like the first and second read, it kind of feeds into what you're saying. Like, he's not playing with patience. He's everything it's moving so fast for him. And there's a reason why the guy's bounced around the league, finally found himself a home. And for all for all that I've just said, I'm glad he's our quarterback. Um, because I can't imagine, like you said, where you're like, put Sam Ellinger in, at least he can run. What you don't want to see is nobody has catches because Ellinger's pulling the ball down and running it, scared for his life, which is ultimately how you get hurt anyway.
Yeah.
So like I said, we are lucky we've got Gardner Minshew. I did find it funny another week has passed. And if you look at the numbers, right? He Gardner Minshew is like 24th in the NFL in QBR, replacement level player. In my eyes, anybody in the back 8 or 9 players in the quarterback rankings, those are people that you could replace. Uh,
Yeah.
so obviously, Colts winners of their last 4 in a row. staring down the barrel of a wild card playoff appearance. And what's notable about the possibility, not necessarily the certainty. Um, you got a rookie head coach, a first year head
Yeah.
coach. You and I have, we've pointed this out many times that like year to year, teams don't normally improve more than about 4 games. And the Colts are on the doorstep of doing that
Yeah, of doing so. Yeah.
with games left, right? It's like they're going to do that and then some, um, which is very unconventional. And when you listen to the players talk, they talk about how competitive Shane Steichen is and how he's got these guys locked in and everybody's playing at a high level and playing for each other. And as I've kind of hit on, despite not having your starting quarterback. The guy's walking around with a sling on
Yeah.
in street clothes during the games. But it's certainly a bright future is ahead of the Colts. One of the things I saw is people are getting ready for draft season, starting to sort of watch and are saying like, Colts have a good enough roster here where best player available in
Yeah, it
that in
seems
those
like a
in
pretty
that
good. Yeah.
that's a pretty good
There's not
bet.
Yeah, there's not like right now, looking at the roster, there is not a need, that jumps out for you. Like, hey, you really need, like, for example, last season where it was cornerback, like, you really needed cornerbacks. Right now, I don't think there's a position where you're like, hey, this is by, a glaring need that you almost have to pick a guy that plays that. I mean, I don't think there's like a big weakness on this team where you're like, hey, you desperately need, this position. Of course, every team has needs and you always need a few players here and there in some positions.
Yep.
And some positions are stronger than others, such as, the NFL.
Mhm.
There is not one where I say, hey, our situation, like for example, our situation at tackle is terrible. Like there's not a single position where where I feel comfortable saying that.
Right. No specific positions costing us games right now, right? Um, Obviously, uh, the Colts are getting back um, their defensive tackle, whose name is skipping my mind at the moment, and then lost one in the same breath. You're about to get back Grover Stewart. You lose Al Qadim Muhammad, 6 game suspension for using performance enhancing drugs or banned substances, whichever. Um, Kind of got to feel like somebody's losing their job at this point. Now that's 2 defensive tackles, so they have a coach that is just a defensive line coach, um, who is either the person giving these people bad advice, or they've got a nutritionist on their staff that's given players bad advice, or what is being floated among our peers is that this is how you make room on your roster now when your roster's packed. And obviously, I say that tongue in cheek. That's kind of a joke. Obviously, not how you want to manage a roster. Is put s you don't necessarily want to like put that on someone's name, right? So
Yeah.
obviously, I don't actually believe this is how the Colts manage their roster now. It's to get a guy suspended for
Yeah.
substance abuse. No, but it is certainly interesting. And again, my brain defaults to somebody's getting fired, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody's feeding these people, advising these people. They got some, and I hate to say like they got some bad juice, but it's like you got some bad advice somewhere.
Yeah.
Somebody made a recommendation that both these boys took on, and I don't know that um, that person you'll never know who that person is. Uh,
That never jumps, that never comes to light.
no, but um, all that to say, uh, th this season is a breath of fresh air, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I haven't felt good about the Colts since, well, the year we had Philip Rivers and we went to playoffs, right?
That
So
seems, that seems like a
so
decade
long
ago
ago.
almost.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the team is playing well. at all of the positions that you need to play well. Specifically, the pass rush has like 42 sacks this
Yeah,
year.
it's really
You and I have been doing this for a long time, and we've been saying that 2 sacks a game ain't doing it.
nah,
And you can't win if you can't get to the opposing quarterback and disrupt him. Hey, if you watch the game, the Colts were very disruptive to Will Levis. Several balls he tried to get off, came off awkward. Um, it did make me laugh how he gets hit as he throws, the ball goes straight up in the air, it gets picked. Our guy fumbles it. He picks it up.
hmm.
Also, same
Yeah,
game, so he like recovers his own errant pass. And then same game, he runs with the ball and gets flipped up in the air,
yeah, yeah.
lands,
He
and then flexes.
flexes. I mean, I like
And
that.
you're like,
To be honest,
hey, I think you and I have talked about like you don't want to give anybody bulletin board material. You certainly don't want
no,
to do it in the game. Like you don't want people
nah,
deciding they hate you today. You know what I
nah.
mean? You
But
don't want to give them extra gas. So,
I,
like I said, we talk about the
I'm gonna
Colts
be honest,
pass
man.
rush. Go ahead, go ahead.
Nah, yeah, that just because you reminded me, there was like a play a bit later after that where Gardner Minshew, he was scrambling, and he gave himself up before the first down marker. I believe it was on third down also.
Yep.
And then having seen that, after seeing Will Levis basically put his entire body on the line for a first down. I mean, the flexing, yeah, that was unnecessary perhaps, but watching him, put his body on the line and the fumble recover that he then recovered his own fumble after that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Levis. I think he's not going to be a very good NFL quarterback.
Nope.
Saying that, I was saying like, hey, at least this is a guy that really wants to win. Like he's gonna give it his all. Like I like that. I saw him and I
He's gonna
said,
go
hey,
down swinging.
yeah, he's not gonna back down. He's gonna give it his all. He doesn't care putting his body on the line. I mean that type of leadership. I like that. I like guys that are gonna you know go the extra mile, put their body on the line. I mean, I still don't like the guy. I don't think he's gonna be a good NFL quarterback, but I respected that. I said, hey, hats off to you, man. Like that had some balls. Like you showed you certainly have balls, and I respect that. Like
Yeah. I don't think he's gonna do Tennessee any favors. Um,
nah,
they're Tennessee's struggle, and that's a division rival, so it's somebody that you want their best. Obviously, you only win by a field goal, but Colts get a big division win, are right in the thick of things. And for those following along at home, hey, the Jags are the division leader right now, and Trevor Lawrence went down in their last game um, with an ankle. A lot of people talked about it being a little worse than it actually was. So I'm not surprised at all that it's a sprain, that he didn't need the cart, that he's showed up today to a press conference in, Birkenstocks. You know what I mean? Like he was not wearing a boot. He's not his ankle's not wrapped. It's not on ice. Probably sore, probably hurts. But and also he was probably, now that I think about it, he's probably masking pain to make sure his team sticks together. Because he is sort of the tie that binds. That they're going to be competitive as long as he's back there. Is he all world? Is he one of the best in the league? No, but good enough that team's like what, 8-3 or 9-3 or something. So yeah, I
yeah,
think when you think of, first of all, if I've learned anything, there's a reason the Colts went out and got themselves like an Anthony Richardson. They got someone that is a big enough body to be able to withstand the rigors of the NFL. Obviously, a couple unfortunate hits kind of led to his early exit this year. But you expect what he's picking up is learn to survive these games, right? Keep the play alive, get rid of the football, give yourself up, slide, all those things. And then hopefully they're able to give Gardner Minshew enough feedback that Anthony Richardson's sitting there when it's happening,
Yeah,
going, "Oh, okay, it is kind of your fault when you give yourself up out of bounds and you didn't even get to the sticks. Hey, that control what you can control. You change your aiming point just a little, that's a first down, right? And maybe this isn't a game. Maybe this is a 10-point game, right? Keeping pressure off of yourselves, right? Not doing ourselves
yeah,
any favor. Um, but yeah, I think there were spots of this game where I was like, wow, Gardner Minshew looks like he's putting in the time. He's developing a rapport. He has confidence in more than just Michael Pittman, Josh Downs handing it off. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
obviously missing Jonathan Taylor's rough on your run game. Obviously, um, you really have a very limited tight end room just because of injury. That's just the way it has panned out this year. But yeah, like I said, going into this season, I was really worried, right? Rookie quarterback, rookie head coach, coming off a 4-win season. It usually just so everyone knows, it usually gets better before it gets worse, or it gets worse before it gets better.
yeah,
Usually it goes 4 wins to 1 win back to 4 wins, maybe 6, 7 wins, maybe 8, 9 wins, and then maybe you have like a couple years where teams all together and good. I think, if I may, that Shane Steichen sort of breathed a life into this team and has all these players playing at a high level. And my hope is that Shane Steichen single-handedly reduces attrition year to year where guys decide, I'm gonna hang in there. I want to be here. I want to play for this team. I think when you get them all firing on all cylinders, hey man, the Colts are gonna score 1 million points on offense, and hey, that defense is coming together nicely. Um, Most notably, recently the Colts cut Shaq Leonard. We got to talk about it
yeah.
when
We
he
talk.
when he
Yeah,
does sign with the Philadelphia Eagles.
I
Uh,
think he already signed, right?
yeah, sign with the Eagles.
Ah,
That's
yeah,
what I was saying. He signed with the Eagles. He's back with a familiar face. Um, and all the best in the world to Shaq Leonard. I hope he's able to return to some form. I also did want to point out when we say that he was like the leading tackler there, but it's sporadic, right? Like, sure, he was the leading tackler, but he straight up missed tackles you can't miss that gave up big plays. Um, so yeah, love what he did for the Colts. Somebody was saying like the week he gets cut from the team, he's still being introduced last, right? He's still kind of the big ticket. So yeah, obviously he probably wanted to go to a winner. That's why he only went to Dallas and Philly, right? Is he wanted a shot at a plan in the playoffs and trying to get a ring before he is going to have to hang him up. And I think that's coming probably before he gets a ring. It's unfortunate because I think San Fran's coming out of the NFC and that he signed with
yeah,
the eventual uh NFC runner up, right? So yeah, I think obviously losing Shaq makes way for Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed, which is great for them, great for their podcast, because now those guys are eating the bulk of those linebacker reps, and both are playing at a high level. And so that bodes well because those are young players that are gonna be here, that are gonna lead your defense, and are making plays. And so and obviously there's other people making plays, so it's not like just the linebackers are playing well. But so yeah, it makes it so the loss of Shaq Leonard is not such a big loss. He is someone that um had a big impact on this franchise while he was here. And smooth sailing for you moving forward. But
yeah. Of course, yeah.
like
We
I
are
said,
always wishing him the best. Yeah,
when you watch him play, you're like, how much has he got left in the tank? Really? Certainly not worth what we were paying him. He signed a 1-year deal. So yeah, I think obviously we kind of covered all the Colts stuff that we could really cover. I mean, obviously,
yeah. There's not
Col
much. Yeah,
Colts look ahead. We play at the Bengals. You're getting the Bengals without Joe Burrow. Um,
Browning look well, but you're not. I mean, you're not thinking like, "Hey, I'm losing. I'm losing a 4 game winning streak, dude." No disrespect, of course. You know he's an NFL
right.
quarterback,
He is an NFL
but
quarterback.
you're losing your
You're not
4 game
losing
winning
this
streak
game to a
to
backup.
Jake Browning. Yeah,
Um, when you look at, I always like to talk about the data, let the data talk, right? So when we look at like team, I look at defense, right? How good is their defense? Well, when we look at team defense and we say, hey, the Bengals 29th. So soft defensive matchup means that the offense should be able to score a bunch of points. And then we could do the same thing and look at offense, right? And say, okay, how we think the Colts are gonna do well on offense, right? And so NFL season team offense. And we look at, okay, well, how's the Bengals offense look? Even with they're middle of the league. So if I'm the Colts, I think I'm beating that team on paper anyway, even with Joe
Mhm.
Burrow. Like I said, one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And this is by no means me sitting here pounding my chest saying the Colts defense is elite. No, but their pass rush
But
is
it's better.
effective.
Yeah,
It's better than it has been. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for the Colts to have already met the high expectation that I had for the year, which was, hey, if the Colts win 8 football games, wow, that's impressive. They could have 8 wins with 4 or 5 games left, for 4 games left, but they could have 8 wins with games left to play. And it's like, hey, any game you win beyond that eighth game it's so good for a franchise. And a lot of that has to do with Shane Steichen. And so now we're just circling back and having the same circular conversation. So obviously, one of the best things about this podcast, brother, is that you and I are both
yeah. We
Indianapolis Colts and Indiana Pacers fan, and what a time it to be a Colts and Pacers fan. The Colts are now in the semifinals of the in-season tournament.
yeah gonna
Um,
play against the Bucks, right?
yeah, they play the Bucks tomorrow, 5 p.m. Obviously, that is a Central Division rival. That's your division leader. That's someone you want to knock off. That's a team that's loaded up to try to win a title. Obviously, they went out and got Damian Lillard, and they're winning too, right? That team's 15-6. So Colts, it's hard to transition. The Pacers have a heck of a matchup ahead of them, but they're playing the best you've seen them play, in my opinion, in the last couple games.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
two games
Boston. Yeah,
ago, they beat the Heat on the road handily without Tyrese Halliburton. I think that win, especially because the order of events that happened was Tyrese Halliburton's out, right? You don't find out he's out until after he interviews and says, I don't care about the individual awards and statistics. I want to win. I've always been this guy everywhere I've been, but I want to win. I'm tired of being a loser.
yeah,
And then he's out with, I think it was like an abdominal thing the next game. And in my mind, I think back to last year and it's like, hey, Halliburton missed a lot of time and the Pacers were not good without him. And the Pacers go on the road and beat a stalwart in the East, in the Miami Heat on the road, and it wasn't close. They beat them like 15 points. That win, really good. The very next game, though, this past game they played arguably a top 3 team in the East. Obviously, get them at home, and it's great to not only just win games, but win games against who are perceived as a better team,
yeah,
right? So Boston, for all intents and purposes that I can think about in the East anyway, to me it's the Bucks and the Celtics.
yeah,
Um, the Pacers are really, first of all, playing a heck of a 3 game streak here, kids. That's the Heat, Celtics, and Bucks back-to-back games in the
Yeah.
early part of the year. Um, and yeah, this isn't me sitting here pounding my chest saying Colts are gonna or Pacers are gonna get the Bucks too. No,
It might
but I
not happen. Yeah.
might not happen right now. But if there were a time, now's the time to get that win. And it's just like Tyrese Halliburton had said, this is a young enough team that every game matters. We are
Yeah.
all learning and growing and getting better together. And every single night when we go out, you learn something about yourselves. Um, Experienced teams are trying to do that, but frequently are going to fail to do that and know everything you can know about each other. This is sort of a new group of players, all learning to gel and work together. And so obviously for them, have a winning record, have been playing well lately, certainly an opportunity here to get on the biggest stage, uh, knock out the best team in the East and
Yeah.
put themselves in the finals. And hopefully, in my humble opinion, it's against the Nuggets, right? Because I think it's Lakers Nuggets on the other half of that bracket. And it's
Yeah.
like I don't have a problem playing against the
Either one of them.
Lakers.
Yeah.
If you win, I don't have a problem playing against the Lakers. I'm just not a believer. So I think the Nuggets are going to stay good and
Yeah.
they're going to beat the Lakers. And then I want to see, I mean, think about the 4 game stretch of beating Heat on the road, Celtics at home, Bucks in the playoff, and then you handle who I want to see, the Nuggets, because you're going to have to get them in a series. If you're going to ever beat them in a game 7, you're going to need to show that you can beat them in a regular season game, especially when you just came off tough outings, right? Like the Celtics are no slouch, right? The Heat are no slouch. So
Yeah.
this stretch is a defining stretch for the Indiana Pacers where you come away and say, young team, gonna need another year to gel, or you're gonna say, you know what, Rick Carlisle has all these players playing at their best basketball at the right time in important time for them because they need that sort of playoff atmosphere, that playoff feel to gel. Because, and the reason I say all this to say because it's so loud when
Yeah.
you're playing these games that communicating verbally is very difficult to do. So you have to gel. You have to all be on the same page because you can't hear each other during the timeouts, right?
Yeah.
And especially in these big games against again tough teams in the East, and then obviously if you just keep winning, you just keep going. So yeah, like I said, what a time to be alive and be a Colts and Pacers
Colts and
fan
Pacers, man. Like
the
this is the
last the
first
last month
time
or so. I mean, it hasn't been a long time since I felt good about both
both,
teams,
yeah,
right?
at the same time. Like I think the last time has to be, 2014, 2015, perhaps that late PG era when we had Andrew Luck back in a quarterback. That has to be the last time where I was like, hey, Colts and Pacers are both good at the same time.
Right.
Since then, it's been, I mean, either the Pacers had a solid year all around where it was never, I think Pacers are kind of over perhaps the past 5 years. I
Hmm.
think right now is the time where I feel the most optimistic about the future of the team. Like we have a bona fide all-star player that is locked in here for the long run.
Yeah.
We have a good young core of players. Like this is the first time in quite some time that I'm saying, hey, this team might evolve. Like who knows what the ceiling is for this team? Because back when we had, Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis, you were like, I mean, this team is probably going to be good enough to make the playoff, perhaps win a series.
Right.
But this is not a championship caliber team. Like this is not a team you're going to win a ring with. Right now, with this team, I'm saying like, hey, in a year or so with more development and the younger players get more. I mean, Matring, he's nowhere near his ceiling. I
Right.
don't think Tyrese has peaked yet. I think he has more to give.
Yeah.
Jarvis Walker, who was a first round pick, and he should contribute more over the next 2 or 3 years. So you're like,
He just
hey,
had a
you
hell of a
have
game, by the way. Did you
yeah,
see that? 26,
yeah.
6,
He
and
was like
6 for the Mad
with
Ants.
yeah shooting. I believe it was like 5 of 5 on 3 pointers. We're like, hey, he might take some time, but he's gonna be good. Like he's not a
Yeah.
bust by any means. I believe. I mean, his ability on defense gives him, in my opinion, a really high floor where you're like, even in the worst case scenario where he can't do shit on offense, at least you're gonna have a defensive player who can, you know, high
Give you
energy. He's
some
gonna
good
bounce
minutes.
up and down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, if all goes to plan and you know, say for example sorry, Pacers, they aren't on a bad spot, you know, salary cap wise. We're like, hey, what if you manage to bring in, say, you know, for example, you know, just thinking out loud, say you manage to bring in a guy like Pascal Siakam to the team. Like, you know, there are some free agents there where you're like, hey, you could build a really solid team, 1 to 5, with 5 bench players that can also, you know, come in and play. You have Aaron Nesmith, you have Buddy Hield. I mean, Darius Walker. We can go on and on about
Yeah.
players that can come in and play. You're like, hey, you know, we might be onto something here, and you're looking at the rest of the conference, and you know, the Sixers. I mean, you're kind of looking at them like, okay, what's their timeline now that they is their title window running out? Like, how are they gonna do? Miami Heat, you know, Jimmy Butler is not getting any younger. Kyle Lowry is not getting any younger. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen with them? So you're like, hey, you know, in the Celtics, of course, you know, they're young, they're good, they're gonna be there for a while.
Yeah.
But other than that, who's gonna Giannis on the Bucks, of course. But I mean, other than that, who knows? Like we
Yeah.
might be in the near future top 3 teams in the conference.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as you were talking about. I'm like thinking about the teams in the East, and I'm like, continued development and growth, and this is easily a top three team in the East, and you're pressing to be able to play with the top couple teams in the East, and you're getting a shot at them right now. That's why I was saying like this stretch right here it could be very defining. It could also be deflating, right? You get out here against the Bucks and get blown the hell out and lose in this tournament. That's not going to give good feels to what I would call a team that's shown they've got volatile leadership, right? And I say that because we're a week removed from Tyrese Halliburton saying like, "I'm tired of being a loser. I want to win." Right. And my game is my game and I'm gonna win individual awards, but that ain't what I'm here for. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not saying what he said was wrong or bad or he shouldn't have said it. No, it shows volatility. It shows a lack of steadfastness where you are bought in, your head down, doing the work and putting on a show, right? It's a whole nother thing to bitch to the media
yeah,
and then sit out the next game injured, and sort of cross your arms and say, win without me. Can you even do that? And then them go out and actually do that. That could be very defining and that could catapult a team where, they were looking at fourth, fifth, or sixth seed in the East, kind of eking into the playoffs, a little above 500, right? To where, in my mind, like I said, because this team's so young, every win is a big part of motivating people to stay on their grind, right? And I look forward to what that does, because it really could help turn this thing into a, oh, it's happening now, instead of like you said, where it's like, they need to add another free agent and then we'll be good. It's like, well, that could happen this year, right? It's like you said,
yeah,
Nesmith and Matherin keep maturing. Those are game-changing athletes. And like I said, Miles Turner not getting any younger, himself, right? So yeah, I obviously, man, it's like I said, it's a strange feeling. It feels good, but it's weird. Where you're like, man, the Colts and the Pacers are both competitive as hell. And obviously it has a lot to do with Rick Carlisle, and Shane Steichen, right? The head coaches, the guys that have the teams pointed in the right direction. Um, and by the way, the Pacers still very affordable. I was hanging out with my friends last night, and he was like, "Hey, I was able to take um, it was him and his wife to an NBA game, and it cost less than $20 to get seats."
yeah. That's
And then
absurd.
and then we both ate and drank and spent less than $50. And you're like, how many NBA games can you, how many
Yeah.
NBA stadiums can you do that? Can you even do that at the
Yeah.
college level, right? Um, so yeah, I think we've touched all corners, brother, in this episode 10, the Garner Minshew episode. We say, hey, happy
Yeah.
holidays. Go Colts, go Pacers. We will see
Yeah.
you
Next
after
week
next
with
week's
yeah,
games. By the way,
with a lot to talk
two
about.
two Monday night games this week. I think that's a little weird, huh?
Yeah.
Schedule
We're
makers are.
reaching the time, right? Like what is the week where there are no longer any Thursday night games? Final week I know it doesn't have any Thursday night games.
Ooh, that's an interesting ask. So look at scores and say week 50. Is it week 15? It's probably next week.
Let
No,
me
that's a
check.
Thursday. Weeks. So no, they did. They just so you know, they did Thursday night games
Oh, would you look at that? Up to week 17.
week 17.
Yeah. Huh.
So until after, so they're basically Thursday night football till after Christmas.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great time to be a
Yeah, Colts and Pacers fan.
Colts and Pacers fan, man. Uh, hey, have a good weekend. Enjoy the games. We'll see you
We'll
at
see you
next
all
week's
next
games.
week.